The Galactic Academy of Unified Species was old. It had existed for 12,000 years on a small moon called HFY. The moon was neutral ground, belonging to no one species. Here, young beings from 47 different alien civilizations came to learn. They studied diplomacy, science, and how to be good citizens of the galaxy. The academy was beautiful. Crystal towers reached toward the stars. Lecture halls floated in the air, held up by technology so old that no one remembered how it worked. Gardens filled with plants from 100 worlds grew between buildings. It was a place of peace and learning. For 12,000 years, the academy had seen many species come and go. Some were tall. Some were small. Some breathed oxygen. Others breathed methane. The academy welcomed them all. But the academy had never seen anything like humans. The first human ship arrived on a quiet morning. It was a small vessel, nothing impressive by galactic standards. 5 young humans stepped off the ship, looking around with wide eyes at the alien world. They were accompanied by a woman named Yuna, who served as their cultural guide. Yuna was 32 years old. She had calm eyes and a plain face. Nothing about her seemed special or dangerous. Before the aliens had made contact with Earth, she had been a simple high school teacher. She taught history to teenagers who mostly did not want to learn. She was patient. She was kind. She was completely ordinary. Director Voss watched the humans arrive from his office window. He was an insectoid being, tall and thin, with compound eyes that could see every color of light. His body was covered in hard plates that clicked when he moved. He had run the academy for 300 years. He had seen thousands of new species arrive. Something about the humans made him nervous. He had read the preliminary reports, the physical data, the biological assessments. The numbers did not make sense to him. So he called Yuna to his office for a meeting. Yuna entered the room with a polite bow. She sat across from Director Voss and waited. She did not seem nervous. She did not seem anything at all. Director Voss clicked his mandibles together, a sign of confusion among his kind. He pulled up the human data files on his display screen. "These 5 students you have brought," he began. "None of them are warriors?" Yuna smiled. It was a small, polite smile. "We did not send warriors to schools, Director. But the assessments." Voss pointed at the screen with one of his 4 arms. "Look at these numbers. Your species has bone density that is 30% higher than the galactic average. Your muscle fibers are configured for explosive power. Your adrenaline response." He trailed off, shaking his head. "These readings must be errors." "They are accurate," Yuna said calmly. "Then these 5 are your elite? You're specially trained?" Yuna's smile remained, but something changed in her eyes. It was subtle, so subtle that Voss almost missed it. Later, he would spend many hours trying to understand what he had seen. His species had no word for it. They had never needed one. "These 5 are university students," Yuna said. "Ordinary young people. Minji studies marine biology. She wants to learn about ocean creatures from other worlds. Taiho and Jiwon are engineers. They like to build things. Dohan writes poetry. He is very gentle. And Suji is studying to be a doctor. She wants to help people." Director Voss processed this information. It did not match his expectations. "A poet? You sent a poet to represent your species at the Galactic Academy. Why not? Poetry is important to humans, but the physical data. Dohan can run faster than most humans his age. He can lift heavy objects. His reflexes are quick." Yuna shrugged. "This is normal for us. Dohan is not special. He is average." Voss leaned forward. His compound eyes reflected Yuna's image hundreds of times. "If these students are average, then your warriors must be truly remarkable." I would like to know more about your military forces. Your trained soldiers. Yuna was quiet for a moment. She looked out the window at the crystal towers of the academy. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. Director Voss, may I ask you a question? Of course. Why do you want to know about our warriors? Voss clicked his mandibles again. Knowledge is important. The academy must understand all species. We must know their strengths and weaknesses, their capabilities, their threats. The word hung in the air between them. Voss did not deny it. Yuna nodded slowly. She seemed to be thinking carefully about what to say next. When she spoke, her words were measured and precise. On Earth, we have a saying. It goes like this: beware the anger of a patient man. Do you understand what this means? I am not sure, Voss admitted. It means that people who are patient, who are calm, who do not show anger easily, when they finally do become angry, it is terrible, because they have been holding back. They have been controlling themselves. And when that control breaks, she left the sentence unfinished. Director Voss felt something cold run through his thorax. It was an ancient instinct, one that his species had developed millions of years ago. It was the feeling of being near a predator, which humans are trained. He asked. His voice was quieter now. Which of your kind should we be? Careful of? Yuna stood up from her chair. She walked to the window and looked out at the academy grounds. The 5 human students were down there, meeting other alien species for the first time. Doham was showing a group of small, furry beings a flower he had found. He was smiling. He looked completely harmless. You should hope none are angry, Yuna said softly. She did not turn around. That is my honest answer, Director. It does not matter who is trained and who is not. It does not matter who is a soldier and who is a poet. When humans are pushed far enough, when they are hurt badly enough, when they are angry enough, the training does not matter. What do you mean? Yuna finally turned to face him. Her eyes were calm. Her face was peaceful. But Voss could not shake the feeling that he was looking at something dangerous. I mean that we are all capable of terrible things, Director. Every single one of us. The soldiers know how to fight, yes. But the poets, the doctors, the teachers, we know how to fight too. We just choose not to. And if you stop choosing? Yuna smiled again. It was not a comforting smile. Then you would learn why humans have survived on a world that tried to kill us every single day for 300,000 years. You would learn why we are the apex predator of our planet. You would learn what it means to face a species that has been at war with itself since before we could write. She walked toward the door. Treat my students kindly, Director. They are good people. They want to learn and make friends. They are not here to cause trouble. And if trouble finds them? Yuna paused at the door. She looked back at Director Voss with those calm, ordinary eyes. Then I hope, for everyone's sake, that they remember their mothers taught them to be patient. She left the office. Director Voss sat alone for a long time, staring at the physical data of 5 ordinary human students. The numbers had not changed, but now they seemed to mean something different. Something terrifying. 3 months passed at the Galactic Academy. The human students settled into their new lives. They attended classes. They made friends. They learned about alien cultures and shared their own stories about Earth. Everything seemed peaceful. Duhan loved the Academy gardens most of all. They were filled with plants from hundreds of worlds. Some glowed in the dark. Others sang when the wind blew through them. A few could move on their own, crawling slowly across the ground to find sunlight. Dohan spent hours there, writing poetry about the strange and beautiful things he saw. He was young, only 20 years old. Back on Earth, he had lived in a small town near the mountains. He had never seen the ocean. He had never traveled to another country. And now here he was, on a moon orbiting a gas giant, surrounded by aliens who looked like nothing he had ever imagined. Sometimes he felt homesick. He missed his mother's cooking. He missed his old room with the window that looked out at the mountains. He missed the sound of rain on the roof. But he did not complain. He wrote poems about missing home instead. The other students thought he was quiet and gentle. The alien students liked him because he was kind and curious. He asked questions about their cultures. He remembered their names. He treated everyone with respect, but not everyone at the HFY Academy was kind. The Korath were a reptilian species from a high-gravity world. They were big and strong, covered in thick scales that were hard as armor. Their culture valued physical power above all else. For generations, Korath students had bullied weaker species at the academy. No one stopped them. No one challenged them. It was simply accepted. The leader of the Korath students was named Dex. He was larger than the others, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that never blinked. He enjoyed making others afraid. It made him feel powerful. When Dex first saw the human students, he laughed. They were so small, so soft. They had no scales, no claws, no natural weapons of any kind. Their skin looked thin and weak. They seemed like easy targets. One evening, Dex found Dawn alone in the lower gardens. The young human was sitting on a stone bench, writing in a small book. He did not notice the Korath approaching until it was too late. "Look at this soft thing," Dex growled. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Writing in its little book. "What are you writing, soft thing? Love poems?" Dawan looked up. His heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. "Just observations," he said quietly. "About the plants." "Plants?" Dax laughed. The sound was ugly. What kind of species cares about plants? 3 more Korath appeared from behind the trees. They surrounded Dawn, blocking any path of escape. Their yellow eyes gleamed in the dim light. "I have heard things about humans," Dex continued. He stepped closer, towering over Dawn. "I heard your blood is red, like liquid fire. I wonder what it tastes like." Dawan said nothing. He closed his book and put it in his pocket. His hands were very still. "Are you scared, soft thing?" Dex grabbed Dohan by the front of his shirt and lifted him off the bench. "You should be scared. Your species is weak. You have no scales, no strength. You are nothing." The other Korath laughed. Duhan hung in the air, his feet not touching the ground. He could smell Dex's breath, hot and unpleasant. He could see every scale on the alien's face. He could feel the raw power in the hand that held him. And deep inside, something stirred Dot. It was not fear. It was something older. Something that humans had carried in their blood for 300,000 years. It was the thing that had helped his ancestors survive ice ages and predators and wars. It was the thing that whispered, "Fight back, destroy the threat, survive at any cost." Dohan pushed it down. He pushed it deep, deep inside where it could not reach him. He took a slow breath and let his body go limp. "Are you not going to fight?" Dex sounded disappointed. "I thought humans were supposed to be dangerous." "That is what I heard. But look at you. You are just a weak little thing." "I do not want to fight," Dohan said. His voice was calm. "Fighting will not solve anything." Dex threw him to the ground. Dohan hit the stone path hard, pain shooting through his shoulder. But he did not cry out. He did not try to get up. He just lay there, breathing slowly. Pathetic. Dex spat. "Come on. This one is boring." The Korath walked away, laughing among themselves. They did not look back. They did not see Dohan's hands shaking. Not from fear. From the effort of keeping them still. Yuna found him an hour later. She had been looking for him when he did not come to dinner. She found him still sitting in the garden, staring at nothing. "Doan." She sat beside him on the cold ground. "What happened?" He told her. His voice was flat, empty of emotion. When he finished, Yuna was quiet for a long moment. "You could have hurt them," she finally said. "I know. Why did you not?" Dohan looked at his hands. They were still trembling slightly. "Because I promised my mother. Before I left Earth, she made me promise. She said, 'You're going far away, to a place where no one knows us. Remember who you are. Remember that strength is not about hurting others. Promise me you will try to be patient.' And you kept your promise." "Yes." Doan closed his hands into fists, then released them. "It was hard. When he grabbed me, when he threw me down, there was a moment when I wanted to hurt him. Really hurt him. I could see exactly how to do it. Where to strike. How much force to use. It was like my body already knew." Yuna nodded. She understood. Every human understood. It was part of what they were. "But I am not angry yet," Dohan continued. "Not really angry. And as long as I am not angry, I can control it. I can keep the promise. What happens if you do get angry?" "Really angry?" Dohan was quiet for a long time. The alien plants around them glowed softly in the darkness. Somewhere in the distance, singing flowers made music that sounded almost like crying. "I do not know," he finally admitted. "I have never let myself find out. I have come close a few times. When I was 12, some older boys at school hurt my little sister, pushed her down, and laughed at her. I remember standing there, watching her cry, and feeling something dark rising up inside me. What did you do?" "I walked away. I went home and hit my pillow until my hands were sore. Then I cried. My mother found me and held me and told me I did the right thing." He paused. "But I still remember what I wanted to do to those boys. The things I imagined. It scared me." Yuna put her hand on his shoulder. "That fear is good, Doan. It means you are still in control. The day you stop being afraid of what you can do, that is the day you become truly dangerous. Is that what it means to be human? To always be afraid of yourself? No. It means being human is about choosing. Every day, every moment, we choose to be kind instead of cruel. We choose patience instead of violence. We choose love instead of hate." Yuna stood up and offered him her hand. "The Karth do not understand this. They think strength is about power. They do not know that the greatest strength is the strength to hold back." Doan took her hand and stood. His shoulder ached where he had fallen, but he ignored the pain. "Will they leave me alone now?" Yuna's face was serious. "I do not know. But if they continue, if they push too hard, be careful, Doan. Not of them. Of yourself. I will try. That is all any of us can do." They walked back to the dormitories together. The twin moons of HFY rose overhead, silver and gold against the black sky. Somewhere in the academy, Dex was laughing with his friends, proud of his easy victory over the soft human. He did not know how close he had come to death that night. He did not understand what he had awoken. And if he was lucky, he never would. But luck, as humans often said, had a way of running out. The academy required all students to take a class called Combat Theory. It was not a fighting class. No one threw punches or fired weapons. Instead, students learned about the military histories of different species. They studied tactics and strategies. They discussed why wars happened and how they ended. Professor Kell taught the class. She was a willowy creature with skin that glowed with soft blue light. She had 6 arms and no legs, floating through the air on currents she could control with her mind. She had taught at the academy for 200 years. In all that time, she had never been impressed by anything. Every species thought their military was the best. The Korath bragged about their conquests. The Villani described their elegant defenses. The Mora explained their chemical weapons with disturbing pride. Professor Kell had heard it all. She found it all boring until the human presentation. Each species was required to give a talk about their homeworld's military history. The humans were scheduled for a morning in early spring. Suji had volunteered to give the presentation. She was the medical student, small and quiet, with nervous hands that never stopped moving. When she stood before the class, she looked very young, very harmless. The Korath students in the back of the room were already smirking. They expected another boring presentation from a weak species. They were wrong. Suji began with a simple statement. You have asked us to present our military history. Before I do, I need to explain something important. Humans have only been traveling through space for about 200 years. Before that, we spent our entire existence on one planet. A planet where we were the dominant species. A planet where our only real enemies were ourselves. A murmur went through the class. Internal conflict was considered a sign of primitive species. Civilized beings did not fight among themselves. Suji continued. In what we call the 20th century alone, a period of just 100 years, humans killed approximately 180 million of our own kind. Silence. Complete, total silence. I want you to understand what that number means. 180 million people. That is more than the total population of some species represented in this room. We killed that many of each other in 100 years. Professor Kell's glow had dimmed. Her 6 arms hung motionless at her sides. How? How is this possible? Suji pulled up images on the display screen. They showed Earth's history, battlefields, explosions, cities in ruins. We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. A single bomb, dropped from an aircraft, killed 80,000 people in one flash of light. The shadows of the dead were burned into walls and streets. The images changed. Chemical clouds drifting over trenches. Bodies lying in rows. We created poisons that could kill thousands with a single breath. We put them in cans and threw them at each other. More images. Laboratories. Scientists in protective suits. We engineered diseases in laboratories. We created sicknesses that could wipe out entire populations. We did this on purpose. A Korath student named Vex raised his hand. His voice was mocking. If humans are so good at killing, why are you so weak now? Why did you let me throw your friend around like a toy? Suji looked at him. Her eyes were calm. Because we choose to be peaceful. Because we remember what happens when we are not. That sounds like an excuse for weakness, does it? Suji changed the image on the screen. It showed a massive mushroom cloud rising into the sky. This is the weapon I mentioned. The one that killed 80,000 people in 1 second. We call it a nuclear bomb. Would you like to know how many of these weapons exist on Earth right now? Silence. Approximately 12,000. That is enough to destroy every city on our planet several times over. That is enough to end all life on Earth. We built these weapons, and then we chose not to use them. Dex said nothing. Professor Kell floated closer to the screen. Why? If you had such power, why not use it? Because we saw what we were capable of. We looked at the burned shadows on the walls. We counted the dead. We realized that if we did not stop, there would be no one left. Suji's voice was quiet but strong. We are not peaceful because we are weak, Professor. We are peaceful because we are dangerous. We are peaceful because we know, better than anyone, what happens when we let go of our control. The classroom was completely still. No one moved. No one whispered. Every alien in the room was staring at the small human woman with new eyes. Suji continued. You asked about our military history. The truth is, almost all of it is about fighting each other. We have fought over land, over resources, over ideas, over things so small and meaningless that we cannot even remember why they seemed important. We have killed each other with rocks and spears and swords and guns and bombs and diseases. We have invented 1,000 ways to destroy, and we have used them all. She paused and looked around the room. Her eyes met Dex's for a moment. The Korath looked away first. But we have also invented ways to heal, to build, to create. For every weapon we have also made medicine, art, music, poetry. The same minds that split the atom also cured diseases. The same hands that built bombs also built hospitals. That is what it means to be human. We are capable of the worst things you can imagine. And we are also capable of the best. Every day, every moment, we choose which one we will be. Professor Kell asked softly, "And what made you stop? What ended the violence?" Suji smiled sadly. "We did not completely stop. We still fight. We still kill. But now we do it less. We do it smaller. We remembered that we were all the same species, living on the same small planet. We realized that our differences were not worth dying for. And if something threatened you, from outside, the room seemed to grow colder." Suji's smile faded. "Then we would remember that we are also very good at fighting things that are not us. For 300,000 years, our planet tried to kill us. Ice ages, predators, diseases, natural disasters. And we survived. We survived everything Earth threw at us, and we came out stronger." She turned off the display screen. The images of war and destruction vanished. "We came to this academy to learn and to make friends. We came in peace. We want nothing but good relationships with all species." Her voice hardened just slightly. "But do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not think that because we smile and write poetry and study medicine, we have forgotten what we are. We are the species that conquered our world. We are the species that split the atom and touched the stars. We are the species that created art and music and love, and also created weapons that could end all life. We choose peace. Every day, we wake up and choose peace. But that is a choice. And choices can change." Suji gathered her notes and returned to her seat. The class was supposed to continue for another hour, but Professor Kell ended it early. No one complained. No one had questions in the hallway after class. Taiho, one of the human engineers, walked beside Suji. "That was intense," he said quietly. "It was honest," Suji replied. "They needed to know. Do you think they understood?" Suji looked back at the classroom door. Through the window, she could see aliens talking in small groups. Their body language showed fear, confusion, respect. Some were looking at the human students differently now. I think some of them did. The smart ones and the Korath? Suji sighed. They are proud. Pride makes people stupid. They will not understand until something happens to make them understand. I hope nothing happens. So do I. Suji touched the wall, feeling the cool alien stone under her fingers. But hope is not a plan. If they come for us again, we need to be ready. Ready to fight? Ready to control ourselves. Ready to be human. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. The hardest fight is always the one inside. The Korath do not know this. They think strength is about muscles and scales. They do not understand that real strength is about what you do not do. What happens if we fail? If we lose control? Suji started walking toward their next class. Then, we will learn the answer to a question no one wants to ask. How much damage can 5 ordinary humans do when they stop holding back? She did not answer her own question. She did not need to. They both knew the answer would be terrible. The Convergence Festival happened once every year at the Academy. All 47 species came together to celebrate unity and friendship. There was music and food and dancing under the twin moons. It was supposed to be a night of joy. It became a night that changed everything. The 5 human students gathered in the eastern courtyard to watch the moons rise. Minji sat on the grass, pointing out the different stars and telling stories about ocean creatures from other worlds. Taiho and Ji-Wan were arguing playfully about engineering problems. Suji was reading a medical text on her tablet, and Dohan was writing as always, capturing the beauty of the moment in words. They were happy. They had made friends at the Academy. They were learning amazing things. For a moment, they forgot about the Korath. They forgot about danger. They were just 5 young people enjoying a beautiful night. Dex had been drinking. The Korath had a special drink made from fermented nectar. It was very strong. For Korath, it did not just cause drunkenness. It made their natural aggression much worse. It was forbidden at the Academy, but Dex did not care about rules. He found the humans in the courtyard. His 3 friends were with him. Their yellow eyes were bright with the effects of the drink. Their scales seemed to stand up slightly, a sign of aggression in their species. "Look at them," Dex slurred. His words were rough and uneven. "The soft things, pretending they belong here." Taiho saw them first. He stood up slowly, putting himself between the Korath and the others. "We do not want trouble," he said calmly. "Please, just leave us alone." "Leave you alone?" Dex laughed. It was an ugly sound. "After your friend made us look like fools in combat theory? Everyone is talking about the scary humans now. Everyone is looking at us differently. You did this." "We just told the truth," Suji said. She did not stand up. She kept her voice level. "Nothing more. The truth?" Dex spat on the ground. "You are weak. Your species is weak. All that talk about weapons and wars means nothing. You are soft, and I will prove it." He moved fast, much faster than his size suggested. Before anyone could react, he grabbed Minji by the throat and lifted her off the ground. Minji made a choking sound. Her feet kicked in the air. Her hands grabbed at the scaled fingers around her neck, but she could not break free. "So soft," Dex whispered. "I could crush her throat so easily. Like breaking a twig." Time seemed to slow down. Taeho started to move forward, but one of the other Korath blocked him. Jaimon tried to circle around, but she was also blocked. Suji was calculating, looking for options, finding none. And Dawn stood very still. He looked at Minji, at her face turning red, at the fear in her eyes. He looked at Dex, at the cruel smile on the Korath's face. He felt something rising inside him, something dark and ancient and terrible. His mother's voice echoed in his memory. "Promise me you will try to be patient." He had tried. For months, he had tried. He had let them mock him. He had let them push him around. He had kept his promise, but Minji was his friend. And she was dying. Duhan moved. Later, Academy security would review the footage 700 times. They would slow it down to 1/16th speed. Even then, they would struggle to see exactly what happened. In real time, it was a blur. Dalhan crossed 4 meters in less than a second. His first strike hit the nerve cluster in Dex's elbow. It was a precise hit, exactly where the scales were thinnest, where the nerves were most exposed. The Korath's arm went numb instantly. His grip on Minji released. Duhan caught Minji before she hit the ground. He set her down gently, so gently, as if she were made of glass. Then he turned back to Dex. The Korath was staring at his arm in shock. He could not feel it, could not move it. "What did you?" Dahan's second strike hit the side of Dex's knee. The joint buckled. The massive Korath collapsed to one-legged dot, and then Dohan stopped. He stood there, breathing slowly, his hands still raised. Inside him, the darkness was screaming. It wanted more. It wanted to finish this, to destroy the threat, to make sure it never threatened his friends again. He could see exactly how to do it. A strike to the throat. A kick to the temple. So easy. So quick. "I am not angry yet," he whispered to himself. His voice shook. "I am not angry." The other three, Korath charged. They lasted 11 seconds. Dohan did not think. His body moved on its own, guided by instincts that went back 300,000 years. He did not fight like a trained martial artist. He fought like a human. Every strike was aimed at weak points. Every movement was efficient. No wasted energy. No unnecessary force. Just enough to stop each attacker. Nerve clusters. Joint locks. Pressure points. Places that most species did not even know humans had studied. He hit each one perfectly, with surgical precision. When it was over, 4 Korath lay on the ground. They were alive. They were conscious. But they could not move. Their bodies had simply stopped responding to their commands. Dohan stood among them, breathing hard. His hands were trembling. Not from exhaustion, from the effort of holding back. "I promised my mother," he said to no one in particular. "I promised." The other humans rushed to Minji. She was coughing, rubbing her throat, but she was alive. She looked at Dohan with wide eyes. "How did you?" "I did not know you could." "Neither did I," Dohan admitted. "Not really. I knew I was fast. I knew I was strong. But I never—" He looked at his hands. "I never let go before." "You did not let go," Suji said quietly. She was checking Minji's throat, making sure there was no serious damage. "You controlled it. Every strike was exactly enough. No more, no less. If you had let go completely—" She did not finish the sentence. Academy security arrived moments later, along with Yuna and Director Voss. The garden was lit up with emergency lights. Aliens from other species gathered at the edges, watching, whispering. Director Voss looked at the scene. 4 Korath on the ground, disabled but alive. 5 humans, shaken but unharmed. And 1 young man standing in the middle, trembling. "What happened here?" Voss demanded. "Self-defense," Yuna said quickly. The Korath attacked. Dex grabbed Minji by the throat. He was choking her. Dohan stopped him. Stopped him? Voss stared at the Korath. Medical teams were already examining them, scanning their bodies. He disabled 4 trained Korath warriors in seconds. By himself. Without weapons. He defended his friend. Voss turned to Dohan. The young human was still standing there, still trembling, still looking at his hands. "You, look at me." Dohan looked up. His eyes were strange, distant, as if he was fighting a battle inside himself that no one else could see. "Are you trained? Are you a warrior?" "No." Dohan's voice was small. "I write poetry. I study flowers. I have never been in a real fight before." "Then how?" "I do not know." Dohan looked at Yuna, desperate. "I do not know. I just moved. It was like my body knew what to do. Like it had always known." Yuna stepped forward and put her hand on Dohan's shoulder. "That is enough questions for now. He needs to rest." They all do. Director Voss wanted to argue. He wanted answers. But something in Yuna's eyes stopped him. That flicker again. That thing he could not name. "Fine. We will continue this in the morning." He turned to the security officers. "Take the Korath to medical. And start reviewing the security footage. I want to understand exactly what happened here." As they led the humans away, Voss stood alone in the garden. He looked at the place where the fight had happened. The stone was not even cracked. There was no blood, no sign of the violence except for the groaning Korath being carried away. 11 seconds. That was how long the fight had lasted. One untrained human against 4 Korath warriors. Voss remembered what Yuna had said at their first meeting. You should hope none are angry. Dalhan had not been angry. Not really. He had been controlled, careful, precise. If he had been angry, Director Voss did not want to think about it. But he could not stop thinking about it. And deep in his ancient insectoid brain, a single thought kept repeating itself. What have we invited into our academy? The inquiry lasted 3 days. Representatives from 17 species watched the proceedings. The Korath government demanded punishment. They called it an unprovoked attack. They showed images of their injured students. They spoke of human brutality. But the footage told a different story. The security recordings were clear. Dex had attacked first. He had grabbed Minji by the throat with intent to harm. The other Korath had joined in the aggression. The humans had only defended themselves. In the end, the academy ruled self-defense. The Korath students were expelled. The humans were cleared of all charges. But that was not the end of the story. Not really. Word spread through the academy, through the entire galactic network. A single untrained human had disabled 4 Korath warriors in seconds. Without weapons, without special training, just instinct and biology and 300,000 years of evolution. Species that had ignored humans before suddenly became very interested. Ambassadors requested meetings. Scientists asked for biological data. Military leaders sent careful inquiries about human combat capabilities. And Director Voss requested a private meeting with Yuna. They sat in his office, overlooking the crystal towers of the academy. The twin moons were rising again, just as they had been on the night of the incident. It seemed like a lifetime ago. I have been studying your species, Voss said. His voice was quiet, thoughtful. Since the incident, I assumed you would, Yuna replied. Your military organizations, your special forces, the ones you call soldiers. He pulled up files on his display. The training they receive, the physical conditioning, the psychological preparation, the weapons they learn to use. Yes, it is extensive. Yuna nodded but said nothing. The young male in the courtyard, Dohan, he had none of this training? None. He studied poetry and basic self-defense. What you would call recreational martial arts. What he did in that courtyard was instinct combined with what every human child learns in physical education. Voss was silent for a long moment. His compound eyes flickered through different spectrums of light as he processed this information. Your species achieved faster than light travel 200 years ago. Since then, you have been peaceful. You have joined the galactic community. You have made friends and allies. Yes, what would happen if you were not peaceful? Yuna looked out the window. The academy grounds were quiet now. Students walked between buildings, living their ordinary lives. Everything seemed normal, safe. May I tell you a story, Director? Voss gestured agreement with 2 of his arms. There was a war on Earth, one of our last major conflicts. Near the end, one nation was losing badly. They had done terrible things during the war. Unspeakable things. But they refused to surrender. They were proud. They believed surrender was worse than death. Yuna paused, gathering her thoughts. So another nation built a weapon. A single device, small enough to fit in an aircraft. When they dropped it on a city, 80,000 people died in seconds. Not from fire, not from falling buildings, from pure energy. The blast was so hot that it turned humans into shadows. It burned their outlines on the walls and streets, and then they were gone. Voss did not move. The nation that refused to surrender received a message. It said, "We have more." 3 days later, they dropped a second bomb on a second city. Another 80,000 dead. And then the war ended. Una turned to face Voss. Her eyes were calm, but there was weight behind them. That was almost 400 years ago. We have not used those weapons since. Not because we cannot. Not because we have forgotten how. But because we remember. Remember what? What we are capable of when we are angry. When we stop choosing peace. When we decide that our enemies must be destroyed at any cost. Una stood and walked to the window. The Academy asked which humans are trained. The answer is, all of us. From birth, we are trained. Not to fight. To control what we are. To control? The violence. The rage. The capacity for absolute destruction. Every human you meet is not showing you their true nature. They are showing you their restraint. Una placed her hand on the cool glass of the window. Dawn is a gentle soul. He writes poetry about flowers and mountains. He has never wanted to hurt anyone. But when his friend was in danger, he disabled 4 warriors in 11 seconds. And he held back. If he had not held back, what would have happened? Una was quiet for a moment. They would be dead. All 4 of them. He knew exactly how to kill them. His body knew. His ancestors knew. 300,000 years of fighting to survive gave him that knowledge. He just chose not to use it. Director Voss stood from his chair. For the first time, Una noticed how old he looked. How tired. Running the Academy for 300 years had not prepared him for this. You asked what would happen if humans were not peaceful. Una continued. The honest answer is, the galaxy would not survive long enough to find out. How can you say that? Your species is young. You have been in space for only 2 centuries. We have ships that could destroy your planet. Yes, you could destroy Earth, and then every human, everywhere, would become what you fear. Una's voice was soft, but it carried the weight of truth. We would not stop. We would not negotiate. We would not accept surrender. We would hunt down everyone responsible, and everyone who helped them, and everyone who stood aside and let it happen. We would use every weapon we have ever created, every tactic we have ever developed, every trick we have ever learned in 300,000 years of warfare. That is not possible. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. We would not need to fight the entire galaxy, just the ones who hurt us. Una smiled, but there was no warmth in it. And we would make sure that anyone thinking of hurting us in the future would remember what happened to the last ones who tried. The room was very quiet. Director Voss could hear the distant sounds of the Academy. Students laughing. Teachers lecturing. The normal sounds of a place dedicated to learning and peace. Why are you telling me this? He finally asked. Why be so honest about what your species can do? Because I want you to understand. Not to fear us. Not to worship us. Just to understand. Una walked back to her chair and sat down. We are not gods. We are not demons. We are just humans. We love our families. We want our children to grow up safe and happy. We write poetry and paint pictures and make music that touches the heart. But we are also the species that conquered our world. We are the apex predator of a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We survived ice ages, plagues, disasters, and the worst enemy of all, ourselves. We carry that survival instinct in our blood. We cannot remove it. We can only control it. Doan promised his mother he would try. That is why those Korath students are alive. Not because he could not kill them. Not because he chose not to. Because he remembered who he wanted to be. Una leaned forward. Every human you ever meet is making that same choice. Every moment of every day, And if they stopped choosing? Yuna stood again. The meeting was over. She walked to the door and paused. Then you will understand why, when you asked which humans are trained, I said you should hope none are angry. She left Director Voss alone with his thoughts. The human students completed their studies at the academy. Dohan became a celebrated poet whose verses about peace and beauty were taught across 17 worlds. Suji went on to revolutionize trauma medicine, saving millions of lives. Minji made important discoveries about ocean life on dozens of planets. Taiho and Jiwon designed spacecraft that were faster and safer than anything before. They left as friends of many species. They left as examples of what humanity could be at its best. Kind, curious, creative, gentle. But in the archives of the Galactic Academy, a new classification was quietly added to humanity's file. Status: peaceful by choice. Threat assessment: cannot be calculated. Recommended approach: do not provoke. And in smaller text. Added by Director Voss himself. They are not dangerous because of what they can do. They are dangerous because of what they choose not to do and what might happen if they ever stop choosing. The twin moons rose over the academy, silver and gold against the black sky. Somewhere on Earth, a mother held her son and told him to be patient, to be kind, to remember who he was. And the galaxy, for the first time in 12,000 years, learned what it meant to hope that no one was angry.